Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're talking about These Feathered Flames by Alexandra Overy. This was requested by my patron, White Raven 13. This is a young adult fantasy duology featuring dual POVs of twin sisters. One is destined to be the queen, and one is destined to inherit the magic of the Firebird. So this is a retelling of the Russian folktale of the Firebird. This has quite a lot in theory that should appeal to me, namely sapphics, mommy issues, and religious zealots. It was also comped as Three Dark Crowns meets Wicked Saints. Three Dark Crowns is actually a favorite of mine. I loved books 1 and 2. I need to complete the series. So this being compared to that was certainly intriguing. It also shares some like commonalities between them, like namely like bears or bear riding, and also the like sisters sort of, they're not really competing in These Feathered Flames like they are in Three Dark Crowns, but they are pitted against each other for political power, not so much ruling, but just power. So this being compared to Three Dark Crowns is certainly intriguing for me. It seemed like I was having something delivered that was perfect for me. Speaking of having something delivered that is perfect for me, that's what today's sponsor, which is Factor, has done, because I despise cooking now, but I love eating. And now I eat stress-free with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Factor meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, and cleaning up. You just heat and savor the good stuff. Carlos loves their pork chop meal, but my new favorite is their pesto tortellini and their vegan mushroom marsala. When I tell you there was not a crumb left of either of these. Their meals and their juices are fueling me as I work from home. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. You can choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, Vegan, or Veggie. I really am enjoying their vegan and veggie options. You can also discover more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you feel good and stay fueled all day long. So what are you waiting for? Get something perfect for you delivered to your doorstep and have Factor fill your fridge for you. The holidays are coming. You don't want to do any extra shopping anyways. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50RWR to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50RWR at factor75.com for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so we don't have triplets like we have in Three Dark Crowns. We have twins. So the synopsis says, when twin heirs are born in Turin, their fates are decided at a young age. Again, similar to Three Dark Crowns. While Isaveta remained at court to learn the skills she'd need as the future queen, Asia was taken away to train with her aunt, the mysterious Firebird, who ensured magic remained balanced in the realm. But before Asia's training is complete, the ancient power blooms inside her, which can mean only one thing. The queen is dead and a new ruler must be crowned. Their mom's dead. Now they have extra mommy issues. As the princesses come to understand everything their roles entail, they'll discover who they can trust, who they can love, and who killed their mother. I liked this. I gave it a 3.5, but my expectations were a little too high because I saw Three Dark Crowns and thought, ooh, that's my shit. Versus the reality was, it was fine. It was a good book, but I was anticipating like a 4.5 to 5 star, and that's just not what happened here for me. I think what would have made this a little bit better was making the romance between Asia and the guard that she loved. She started falling in love with this young woman bodyguard. You know, it's a sapphic relationship between Asia and this other girl. I just wish that felt more earned. So I think maybe I would have rated this higher if we had just taken out romance entirely and just focused on the mommy issues and the sister bond here. Now, Isaveta has no romance. I mean, it's hinted that maybe she kind of might like this one guy, and maybe that comes to fruition in the next book, but she doesn't really have a romance. She's a little bit busy manipulating people. And again, I really like the mommy issues here. So this is going to be pretty spoilery. I don't really know how to talk about this book without giving away spoilers, but yeah, this is going to be pretty spoilery. So if you're not into spoilers, I wouldn't stick around. Just know I gave it a 3.5. If you want to try it out, there is bear riding, there is sapphics, there is fire magic, there's a lot of mommy issues, and I think it's a solid book if you're looking for a young adult fantasy featuring strained sibling bonds, particularly between twins, and the way that who we are told we have to be makes us lose our relationships with even our own twin sisters. So the mom pretty much dies immediately. We have one chapter where we set her up with Isaveta. I feel like this could have been done better. We set her up as like, she doesn't really care about her daughters. She just cares about power. She's sort of starting to align with the church to make moves against other political players in the game. And she's not very kind to Isabetta, even though Isabetta is who she's supposed to like prop up as the next ruler. And I didn't really understand this. Like, how are you going to maintain power if you're not propping up your next ruler? And she even like tells her while she's still alive, we both know that you only care about your own power. And I'm like, isn't that your own power though? So I didn't feel like we really did a good job like setting up the mom, the queen, and her making her daughter, who she inevitably is going to have in power after her, into the exact kind of leader that she wanted to make her into. She was just sort of like shaming her for only caring about her own power. And I'm like, isn't that a shared commonality between you two? So then when she is dead from a rare fever, literally the next day, obviously she was assassinated, her daughter is like not really feeling grief. She says it's not grief, it's absence. And I really liked the idea of mommy issues here, and sometimes it really hit, but then other times it didn't, just because the setup fell so flat. But that's how you feel when you like, even when you lose a parent who's still alive. Like, I don't talk to my own dad anymore, and I guess I felt grief in a way over cutting him off, but mostly it's just like there is this absence in my life where a dad should have been, but instead I was given this, the urge to like channel Kamala Harris and be like this former father. So I related to that. I understood that. So the theories over who could have killed the queen are commanders that are scheming, the church itself, even though her mom was scheming with the church, neighboring countries, or Isabetta herself, so obsessed with power. And I'm like, but she was gonna be queen anyway. Why would everybody consider the idea that Isabetta was gonna kill her own mom? I don't really get this. We do have this church that's in play, and this is a church that has like gods and saints. Post reading this, I decided to not take barely any notes on the religion just to see if I could remember it after the fact, and unfortunately I cannot. It did not stay with me. I wish that it had. What did stay with me is Isabetta and her manipulation, which she considers like an art form that she was taught by her mom. But again, you were taught this art of manipulation for political power by your mom, but then your mom shamed you for it. I didn't really get that. So literally at the funeral, the bishop, the guy in charge of the church, is like pressing her to make decisions, political decisions right now, when she's not quite a queen yet. She hasn't been coronated, and she has to play this game constantly of politics and passive aggression with him. And she finds this sort of exhausting doing this manipulation bit that her mom taught her to do, because she's just tired. Like, she's just a girl, and she just wants to ask him outright, what were you and my mom planning? Just get it out in the open. But again, I understand being tired. I just don't understand why her mom didn't bring her in on it. Her mom was like, again, grooming her to take up this exact same position and then carry on that same ideological legacy, right? Like, leading her to become a duplicate of herself in belief in politics. So I'm just really not sure. I don't get it. So the other sister, Asia, the Firebird, by the way, whenever magic is used, the Firebird takes from magic users. So there's like a cost that must be paid. Sometimes it's the person who used magic's life. Sometimes it's just like their arm. And Asia really struggles with the morality of this. So then her mom dies, and immediately her aunt is no longer the Firebird. The Firebird manifests in her. So she has to now go back to the palace where they were separated as kids. She went to go learn about being the Firebird for her whole life. Her sister Isabetta was raised in court. So she gets back, and her sister, she thought, would have welcomed her more warmly, and she's just always dying to have a family, whereas Isabetta, it's like already clear to her that she will never be in a position where she has a family. And she was also manipulated by her mom to believe that her sister didn't care about her anymore once she left to become the Firebird. So there's a lot of like, the mom was playing them against each other. Now again, this makes sense if you don't want the Firebird in power if you're the queen, but I still don't get why you alienated the daughter that you are trying to bring up to be the queen. So Isabetta is very cold towards Asia, and when she gets there, she assigns her a guard. Now this guard is the love interest for Asia. But then when we get back in the queen sister's POV, which is Isabetta, she explains that she had gotten a letter from her sister Asia right after they had been separated, and her mom threw it in the fire and said, why would your sister miss you? Why would she care about you? You guys are enemies now. She has the whole world at her fingertips now, and basically you will never be friends. That was a power move, not an offering of friendship. You don't talk to her anymore. And pitting siblings against each other is something that I think is so fascinating to watch a mom do when it's not in my real life done by my mother-in-law. But in fiction, it's really cathartic watching that play out. And again, it just doesn't feel like it was cultivated to the best of its ability here. So these teachings from Isabeta's mom really hardened her heart. Meanwhile, the Firebird sister, Asia, is like, I can't believe that my sister assigned me a guard as if this wasn't my home, as if this wasn't where we grew up together. She obviously doesn't trust me. So the former Firebird was Asia's aunt, except it's actually her great aunt. It was her mom's aunt, and her mom was always frustrated that she could not bring the Firebird under her control. This had been done in Queen's past. They would control the Firebird rather than work together with the Firebird. Her mom didn't have a twin, so the Firebird power stayed with her mom's aunt. And her mom at one time had tried to use her aunt as a show of force against a foreign enemy, and her aunt said, no, we're not going to be controlled by a queen. So now there's like a very tumultuous relationship there between the queendom and the Firebird. And so Asia, desperate to try to like have a relationship with her sister, is like, maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe that was just a problem because my mom didn't like her aunt, but this is my twin sister. Like, I'm sure that we can get along, right? But quickly she thinks to herself that it's just a matter of time before Isabeta starts acting like this. This is like what the crown does. And she's like, and the Firebird is not all good too. Like, I've seen my aunt carry out these terrible acts just upon people for using magic. So which of the two of us will betray each other first? She wears a dampener, Asia does, in order to like quell her Firebird power, which she has not gotten under control yet. So she wears this dampener and she takes it off, and she ends up having a vision that something is afoot with the death of her mother, and someone's out to get them. And also, someone used magic, and she can feel it, and she knows that a debt needs to be paid, but she cannot figure out who was the magic user. And then people start turning up dead. Political figures who, one of them had just cast her support for Isabeta, ends up being found dead. Now, watching all of this, Asia, the only person she's really talking to is her aunt the Firebird and her bodyguard who has been assigned to her. They don't really like each other all that much. It's not that like tumultuous, but you can tell that the guard is kind of standoffish with her. And she finds out eventually that her name is Juliana. And she says that learning her name, it's something so precious that she wants to tuck it away for when she's alone so she can look at it. And that was so cute. But unfortunately, she has other pressing matters to deal with than her burgeoning crush on this young woman. She can't control her powers, and her Firestone was stolen, her dampener. The sisters try to talk to each other several times. They try to come to like some sort of truce, even though it's super tentative because they don't trust each other anymore. So Asia goes to Isabeta's room, and Isabeta reveals that she wishes that she could have been the Firebird because she feels like Asia is more free for that, for the fact that she ended up being the Firebird. And I think that she is pretty resentful that her life has turned out this way, where she just plays like this game of manipulations in and out all day long, and she feels very much like she has lost what she could have been as a person if she was not just that. And Isabeta says, I feel so alone because I am the queen. I have no one. Everybody's just a power player. And Asia says, well, I felt alone because I didn't have my sister when I became the Firebird apprentice. Seeing this commonality between each other, this loneliness, and this, you know, they obviously have the commonality of their mom sucked, they tentatively say that they want to work with each other. And so much has been lost between them, so like this little glimmer of hope was very needed. But like, can they really like tame who they were told they have to be in order to get back what was lost, this relationship between them? So Asia is inquiring about needing the bones of a saint. There's lots of saints, I forget what they all are. The religious stuff kind of just in one ear and out the other. If I didn't take notes on it, unfortunately, it didn't really sit with me. And so she's trying to find out about the bones of this saint and trying to, you know, get her hands on it. And the bishop who, you know, runs the religion is frustrated at her meddling in this and asks, like, why are you so interested? And she says the Firebird's business is between her and the gods. And the bishop, very sinisterly, says there are some who say the Firebird comes between us and the gods, that she steals the magic meant for us. And it was at this point that I started imagining this man as Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Like fire, hellfire, this fire in my skin.
Asia starts to form more of a relationship with Juliana. She introduces her to Mishka, her bear, and I can't help but point out here that the bear riding thing was like super underutilized. If we're gonna ride things that aren't horses, you better use them often, because I love that shit. Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee, and this one they ride basically giant lizards. I love it. If there's a book that has something where you're riding something that isn't a horse, I love it. But the bears just did not come up enough in this book for me. But this scene was cute. I did appreciate it, even though I wish we had more like this, where she's teaching Juliana about bear riding. Adorable. But there's still not enough bear riding. So then Asia and Juliana have this conversation where Juliana is like mirroring Asia's prior feelings that she had before becoming the Firebird, where she felt like, is this morally wrong that the Firebird requires a price to be paid for magic use? Why is this right? Why is this okay? And as she, slowly becomes the Firebird more and more, she starts to lose that part of herself that questioned that before, and Juliana is trying to bring that back. And then Asia gets shot with an arrow. In the middle of this conversation. They're like descended upon by bad guys, and she's trying so hard to control her power, but she can't. And she realizes that the arrows are made of firestone and that now her powers have been dampened. So she uses a saint's relic to fight them off. I forget which saint. Again, the religious stuff just... And then she gets shot through the chest. And she was running towards her bear at that point when she got through the chest, and I was like, if the bear dies before we get more bear dying, I will riot. What? Bear riding, not bear dying. Ah, Jesus, Rachel. So Isabetta finds out about her sister being harmed. She's not dead yet, which is really sweet. And then she takes it out on Juliana, which was not so sweet. She's like, you were supposed to be her guard. And I'm like, yes, but have you considered that they were flirting and therefore distracted? You can't blame them. They were having a cute moment. But their aunt poses a question. Who did this, and how did they know about the Firestone affecting the Firebird's powers? So there's a scholar, sort of, who has been talking to Isabetta, and she does not trust this dude. He came over from where the scholars come from, and she has been on his case in conversations that I thought were quite cute, even though they don't end up having a romance in this book at least. And she is convinced he's here to spy on her. He reveals his mother was a scholar, and she was forced to choose between him and continuing to be a scholar. And I'm like, ooh, I would read that book. He says he was sent to live with his father, who was disappointed in Nikov chasing knowledge in an effort to be like his mother. I loved this backstory. I really did. But I then found myself again just wishing for a book where this was the POV. I love stories about people whose moms did not choose them. Can you tell it resonates? And he's using this to explain to her, what matters is my choices, not my parents. He wants her to take that to heart because her choices matter, not how her mom brought her up, sort of. He tells her, what you do now is what matters, not what your mom molded you into. And this stands in such stark contrast, this raw honesty, with her mom's malicious verbal manipulations that she experienced for years and years that made her who she is now. And then Isabetta is put in a position where she has to ask the bishop to form a ritual used on the saints in order to save her sister. And this comes at a cost to her politically. Her mother would have never let her live this down, but again, I just don't understand why her mom didn't bring her up to be more politically aligned with the bishop in the first place. But as Nikov said, it doesn't matter what her mom brought her up to be, it matters what her choices are, not what her mom set her up for. So this drive that she has to save her sister, it matters. And he's the only person who's ever told her that, which is very sweet. It comes to light that Isabetta was doing some not so morally great things behind the scenes, and this comes to light to Asia specifically. And she is so disappointed, and she feels like, okay, so I'm the sister who gets betrayed. And she feels so frustrated that the queen and the Firebird have to constantly be at odds. And Isabetta's like, well, if you're not going to do, that in queenhood's past, they would just control the Firebird. Asia's like, so that's how this is. That's who you've become then. And Isabetta says, I still want you to come to my coronation because we still haven't been coronated yet. And Asia says, do you want me there as the Firebird, or do you want me there as your sister? Are you just using me to look good in front of your political allies? And Isabetta's basically like, why not both? And then in Isabetta's POV, it says that if Asia couldn't even see the good in Isabetta anymore, what hope is there that she wasn't exactly who her mother ended up making her to be? And Asia has to tell her, the Firebird does not submit to a crown. I wanted you to be my sister. In the end, it turns out that the guard that Asia had been falling in love with is part of the this like sort of secret faction that is trying to take over. And I thought that this was like a fine answer. I didn't love it. It made absolutely no impact on me. All of this just did not really feel earned. It didn't feel like cultivated in a way that it made any sort of impact on me. It just sort of washed over me, and I was like, that's a thing that I read. And because I was comparing this so heavily to Three Dark Crowns, where these like massive movements, these huge betrayals that are happening, these really dark decisions that are being made were making such an impact on me, I was hoping to see more of that here, and it just did not occur. And in the end, we find out that Isaveta is the one that had been using magic. She is the one that Asia had been feeling like there was a price to be paid. She was the one that did it. It turns out that Isaveta accidentally killed their mom. So Isaveta sort of kind of dies, but then isn't dead. That was a little confusing. She's alive in the next book, so I guess we'll figure it out there. But this is such a huge loss to Asia, who's already been through so much. It just felt like how could we just kick Asia when she's already down over and over and over again? And eventually she does learn to control her power, kind of. This was fine. Again, I liked parts of it. I was really disappointed because I thought that it was going to hit so much harder than it did. So I gave it like a 3.25, 3.5. It's fine. I thought some of the romance parts were cute. I like the political like manipulation stuff, but I ended up just sort of like forgetting who the players were, and some of them just felt like sort of mustache twirly evil, and they didn't really make the impact on me that I was hoping they would make. And in the end, I was just sort of feeling like instead of continuing on to the next book, I more was wanting to reach for Three Dark Crowns and reread it. But then I moved on to The Gilded Crown, which has it's not a relationship, but there is like a sapphic crush going on, where the person that the main character is falling in love with is a bad person. She's not a good person, but nonetheless, it is still sapphic, and I had a much better time with this. This was more of like the dark parts that I was hoping for, and I liked the religious conversation, like the religious people trying to take over more in this, because the mom in this was very deeply ingrained with the church and the religious beliefs, and that separated her greatly from her daughter. That's more what I was looking for, and this just didn't deliver that. Let me know if you've read any of these books I mentioned, and down below, leave me, if you could have a book have a transportation animal that is not a horse, leave me which kind of transportation animal in an emoji down below. Maybe we could do like the Cruel Prince and do a giant frog. Comments and questions down below. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. Before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Ashley H, Astra, Brittany Bobitney, Call Me Kodiak, Cami, Choco's traumatized by that dang book, Chris the Horror Therapist, DJ Rocktopus, EK Casey, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, Hey Mom, I'm Famous, Jess, John E, Kay, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, Mixer Boneless, Alice, Panoramic Demon, Peggy Lou, Rain, Reese, Ree, SJ, Samar, Scarlet, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph, T Delegati, 2 Orbit, Umami Mommy, Urchin Audrey, White Raven 13, Zorvictia, Chai Guy. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. And I have to say thank you for being a friend to my potato starch Marxist patrons. Wow, that's a mouthful. And those are AB Daniels Anaki, Alejandra, Ali Oxenfree, Alistair Althea, Amanda D, Andy, Angelica, Armadildo. That's a good one. Artie the Ninth, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pants, Blythe Lavender, Bookish Brainrot, Bookish by Jenna, Bree Caitlin, Kate B, Caitlin P, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Carly, Casper, Kate, Catherine, Kathy, Claire Online, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Darius, Danielle M, Darren, Desiree Michelle, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, Drive-By Thinker, Ebby, Emily A, Emma, Other Emma, Ezra Moon, Fiona McDonald, Forever a Boat, Francis Gadarn, Galaxy Bot, Halia Artisan, Hannah Bunny, Hannah C, Harpy Kuro, JM Tennant, Jays on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Jessa Sue, Jill, Jojo Bookish, Juicy Wizard, Kat, Catherine, Katie L, Katrina, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, KMTB, Laughing Cat Dog, Lauren G, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lindsay M, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP, Luciri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Maddie, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Megan, Malara, May, Mima Who, Molly, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Paul, Penelope, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Plague Carrier, Pandemonium, Queen Cereal, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca, Rebecca R, Ronnie, Rosie Thorns, Rowan, Secoria, Saintbringer, Saki Alume, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Shamed, Shannon, Sean, Sophie, Talia, That Nerdy Mystic, Tiana, Too Thick to Work Today, Trash Can Teddy, Triple M, Tito Phoenix, Unicorn Jenny, Wobbs. If you don't tell me how to say that, I'm gonna cry. And Writer A, thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend.